Still okay?
All right, we're going to call the Hermiston City Council work session to order with all members present except for Councilor Peterson and Councilor Brown.
Other way around.
Oh, Councilor Peterson over here, Councilor Brown over here. Yeah, I can't see the names. And so tonight, we're getting an update on city projects. Is that right, Mr. Smith?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, the mayor brought up last week, wanted an update particularly about the Harkin Rider, and I just had been thinking about some of the other projects. We've just been kind of working. I give a little update maybe now and then in my memo. Just wanted to kind of give a more substantial update, chance to have some discussion related to how we're doing on all of these. So, and it also came as I was doing my goal update, preparing that for tonight. There's a number of these projects or these buildings that are mentioned in those goals, and so this kind of fits in with what we're going to talk about later. So, the first set of projects is what we've been calling the civic projects. It's because they're all located right around here. So we have the Harkin Rider Center, City Hall, IT space, and then the library. And from a attempt to be, as efficient as possible, having all those going on at the same time could benefit us from a cost standpoint. So we went through, and the council approved us using a construction manager, general contractor, CMGC process, where we hire an architect, which is Hacker Architects, and then CB Construction, and they work together through the design process rather than the architect designing it and then putting it out to bid. And particularly this approach is good for remodels and things like that because of the unknowns that come as you get into remodeling older buildings or doing projects in existing buildings. So that approach is what we did with those three. Then the Public Safety Center that'll bring in some discussion about the ARC building, and then a little bit of an update at the end about the Carnegie building. That's how we'll go through it. So with the Harkin Rider Center, it was completed in September of 2018. It was a project that replaced the senior center building that was on the former fairgrounds. That building was about 5,500 square feet. So the base building that we had designed for the senior center was 7,200 square feet. That was funded by a $2 million CDBG, Community Development Block Grant. And then as we went through a process to choose the site. As we chose the site where it's at, it looked very good for the city to be able to add some space at a relatively good price. And so we added a walkout basement under that, about 3,800 square feet, or $750,000 contribution from the city. So that building has been operated since we opened it by the Senior Center Board. They also get some help from our Parks and Rec staff. We have a couple of staff members that are assigned to help them out in different ways. It's grown on them, I guess, to have staff. Initially they didn't like it so much, but now they like the help, and I think it's getting better. Based on our agreement that we signed before we even built the Harkin Rider Center, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday is dedicated to the senior board. That's their time, and they program it as they would like. We help them as we can. We also now share a calendar so that the rest of the time we can both book events within that time. Last meeting, you adopted a fee schedule for renting the space at the Harkin Rider Center. The other piece that we've made an initial agreement with the senior board is to share the revenue from those additional events 60-40. So 60 for them, 40 for us. That's one of their few revenue sources, so that's why we went a little bit towards them as far as giving them a little bit of extra funding to do some of the things that they're trying to do. So as we've been working through the design on this, the current estimate is about $600,000 for that project to finish the basement space. You know, if I think all we may have been down there is just, you know, concrete floor, the plumbing stubbed out of the ground, and the walls aren't finished, those types of things. It's just really, yeah, Mr. Mayor.
So maybe it's just the way you're presenting it, but is the current estimate that you're sharing there of $600,000 for the build out of the space?
Yes.
It's not revenue share.
No, it's not. It's not.
Maybe we should reverse the location of those two, because it almost looks like, you know, we're talking about fees and revenue.
Okay, no, this is for, we're talking projects,
Like,
not
wow.
so much about revenue.
Some serious revenue there.
We don't really have a good estimate. You know, they've talked to people about wanting to rent it, but we don't have a good idea how much it's going to generate.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Linton?
Yes.
I'm curious as to why it wasn't finished at the time it was being built, instead of waiting to now to go ahead.
So at that time, you know, we dedicated $750,000. We didn't feel like we had enough to really finish it out at that point. And so because, you know, this was the city's perspective, because we were building already a bigger space than they came from, we felt like being able to wait on this and finish it out at a later date would still be okay. Give them a great space to have their meals and other programs, but then we could finish this when we could get to that point of being able to have the funding. Okay. So here's an architect's rendering of what it could look like. You're looking at the north wall. You've got the patio would be to the left there, and on the kind of the east wall, it will be, it's planned for a kind of a kitchenette. So there's a sink, some counter space, and then there's sort of an island that can, you know, you can set food out on, those types of things. And then we'll look at a very bad architect drawing. This is the best I could get from them. But if you look on the left, that's the patio again, faces 395. You got a couple of doors that go out there, but on the south side, there's bathrooms, some storage rooms, and then on the east, again, the kitchenette and the island that I described, and then you have the stairs, and then on the north edge is the elevator that goes down. Mr. Mayor, Count.
Yes, Councilor?
Is there a restroom down in the basement yet, or no?
No, the plumbing was stubbed up, ready to add bathrooms, but it's not. That's what this renovation or this project would do. Would put bathrooms and the other things.
Thank you.
I have a question too. So the space to the south, that's one big open room.
Yeah, it's a large storage room.
So if people, if they want to put the tables away, the chairs away, we're gonna have space for all that stuff.
Correct.
Okay. And then any sort of storage for the kitchen, or, you know, festival, or, you know, there's an event there, that would be able to be stored in there as well.
Right.
I don't think that the limitation of storage space would be a problem, but good, I like it.
Yeah. And that was something that was, you know, the architects held a meeting with the senior center board, and then others that were involved came and gave some of their feedback, and Parks and Rec staff was there to give their ideas and thoughts. So I thought it was a really good meeting, and I think we came up with some good ideas for the use. Okay, so, and we can come back to these, to the Harkinator for questions if you want later. I'll just kind of go through all of them and then can do.
Council want to talk any more about the Park and Rec Center, or move on and come back to it? The only other question I had, Mr. Smith, if the estimate is 600,000, are you going to talk about paying for that at some point?
At the end, I'll kind of give a little bit of my
Thoughts about that?
thoughts about
Okay,
that.
thanks.
So the IT space. So when we were planning City Hall and in conjunction with the county, we added the third floor to this building with about 1,500 square feet of what we thought was going to be future space. I mean, I was thinking long future. And during that design and construction time, we established our IT department. And so with the IT staff is located in the Carnegie building, and you know they're happy to be there, but having them a little more centrally located in the same building as some of our main servers, some of those types of things would be beneficial from that standpoint. And there's also at the end, I'll talk about some of the future uses for Carnegie that play into some of these other projects. So the project is and the current estimate on this is about 300,000. And both of these projects are kind of a little further down in the design, but not to a final estimate. They're still, the architects are still going back and forth with the contractor on some ideas on different ways we can save money, bring the cost down a little bit, but those are just where we're at with the estimates. Mr. Mayor, I've got Mr. McCarthy had a question.
Yes. So just want to clarify, the 300,000 in that estimate, is any of that for working on the Carnegie building, or is that all specifically for this
It's
1,500
just
square
for
feet?
IT space in this building.
That was my question as well.
Okay. Okay, so again, a little hard to see, but this space is basically right underneath us. And you see the stairwell on the top, that's this front stairwell. It's just, it's basically just building out about 5 office spaces. There's space in the middle for some cubicles, and then along that wall on the west side is a kind of a workstation, work table for them to work on, you know, putting together computers, whatever things they have going on there. So this one is really pretty basic. Most everything was, you know, all of the HVAC is there. It just has to get routed and put in the right spots. Electrical, those types of things is all ready to go.
The question I have is bottom right. Are those storage rooms or restrooms, or what are those?
We're all the way in the white or the gray?
In the white.
In the white, those are office spaces.
Okay. So the question I have, you know, this is going to be a computer space, or they're going to be building or storing computers. Where are they going to store them securely?
So there's a lot of, one of those rooms is dedicated completely to storage where the cursor is up in the upper left.
Okay.
The other space is future, so it's not, they don't have enough staff to utilize all that, but it's another
What
office. The office next to the storage.
Okay.
The three on the bottom right-hand corner are all the ones that we currently would have staff that would fill those offices.
And so the center space would then be cubicle design.
Mm-hmm.
So where is our server room down there currently?
Yeah, it's across the hall
Okay.
in,
It's not occupied in that
it's,
space.
right, it's not in that space.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Councilor Hart?
So, that's gonna be IT totally down there, no one else?
That-
We're not doing anything with the county anymore, right?
No, they haven't expressed any interest in more space at this point.
But,
Yeah.
but some of it still is county government.
Right, none of this, all of the county spaces to the right
Yeah. And that
off
has
of the
not changed.
diagram.
That hasn't changed.
No.
Are they fully utilizing all that space?
No, actually, I think, things on their end changed in the middle of the construction as well, and so I don't think they've occupied all the offices down there at this point.
Are they going to?
I don't know, I haven't talked in detail about it. I know when they moved here, they were able to secure some of their public health staff wanted to be in a Hermiston office, so I know their septic inspector does most of their work on this side of the county, and so they're located here now when they didn't have a space before. So they're just finding some different roles that are filled here.
I think, you know, behavioral health was a large part of that previous facility, right? And now CCS has occupied that space.
Right, right, and they've taken over the public health side of that.
They didn't have much need for that over here as well.
Right.
So, I'm curious as to, and I mean, you know, maybe I'm being a little overly critical, but why do we need 3 offices as opposed to, because, you know, in my experience, most IT people are, you know, they're in a collaborative type space and working together, whereas, you know, the additional expense of actually making offices seems to be an unnecessary expense.
It's a good question, and it's a good point. The 3 offices, one would be for the IT director. The other 2 are for what we have our engineer level positions. So they're not typically out, you know, solving desktop problems or doing that on the phone. They're doing more server configuration, server stuff, and less of their work is really in collaboration with the desktop specialists who will occupy the cubicles.
I had a similar thought. Yeah.
But they did want as much as they could to be open because they do like to have that type of space.
I like the concept, the bullpen kind of concept, and you know, maybe the open, I don't know what their doors if they're gonna have.
I think they'll be similar to what we have upstairs. Will there be, you know, glass and
Yeah.
that type of thing?
Good.
Any other? This is the next, so the next one, the library. And I think I went too far. There we go. So the building was originally occupied in 1989. The basement at that point was built in, it wasn't originally built out. It was built out over time. And as we kind of started to look into it a few years ago, as we were redesigning the phase 1 remodel, it wasn't very functional. You know, they had put study rooms down there in a dead-end hallway where not good things happened. We'll just say that. And so the phase 1 remodel took a big step forward to opening up the space, really making it a lot more functional, and really was a great interim city hall, but it really set it up for what we're looking at in the phase 2. And we proposed this as a multicultural resource center, as becoming more of a function of the library. And Umatilla County has dedicated about $2.5 million of the Lamb Weston, of their portion of the Lamb Weston Enterprise Zone funds to this. And they're considering doing some more in relationship to this particular project. Current estimate on the construction of this would be about $4.5 million. This project isn't nearly as far down the road in design because we're still kind of going back and forth. There's some pretty big cost items that the contractor's kind of looking into and getting feedback to the architects on some design things that they want to try. We'll take a look at kind of where it's at right now, but it's still a little bit behind the other 2 projects that we talked about. So this is the basement floor. And if you look at the bottom left corner, that's the large meeting room that's down there. Then you see the stairs in the back stairs in the upper left corner, and then you have the offices that we created, the city staff used while we were there. And then the kitchen is in the same space, but looking to use that as kind of a maker space type area as we move forward. But the big cost item I was really mentioning is this is a proposed stairway in the middle of the library to create an opening, you know, more of an open idea. Right now, it's like it's two separate buildings, and there's no real connection between the two floors, and that makes it difficult to kind of make it feel like one library. And before I leave, and then this in the bottom right corner is what they would propose as the new children's area. And again, trying to separate that from the rest of the library so the kids can, you know, be a little louder and enjoy the library in that way.
Is there an elevator that goes down there?
Yeah, so it currently has an elevator. It's right back, right there.
Okay, but it's not where the stairs are, that's just.
It's in the back stairs, yeah. It wouldn't be close to where the new stairs would be.
That's just a new set of stairs going.
Yeah, between the two floors. So this is the proposal for the upstairs. You know, there's a lot of kind of flow and usability issues with the way the current library is. If you notice, when you walk in, the front desk is like right, you know, 10 feet away from the front door. And so this pushes the circulation desk back, puts the workroom kind of in a different configuration behind the desk for the staff. It creates a separated teen space, which we don't currently have for the teens. And then here would be the creation of a small meeting room. They've had a lot more interest in people wanting to have small, you know, they might have a small business meeting or something to where they would come there. It also could function as a study room. And then up in this area would be the computer lab that we currently have. And then this design just allows for increasing the amount of stack space that's available for the collection.
So the cost on moving that stairwell, what is that?
Well, that's what they're trying to get a better number on. And it's not moving because it would just be adding a stairwell, essentially. We wouldn't take away one, we'd just add a new one.
You'd also be losing some square footage upstairs.
Sure, yes.
I'm kind of glad the fire chief is here on this, because to me, that staircase right in the center of the deal just looks like a big gigantic chimney. You know, if there, God forbid, a fire downstairs, it looks like it would just funnel it straight up the center and out. That's, I mean.
Well, I mean, that's
it
the
looks
job
like
of the
rocket fuel to
architects.
me.
That's the job of the architects and the building official to review that and make sure it's as safe as possible.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it looks like a giant.
There's already
rocket
sprinklers in the
stove.
downstairs, so.
So, are you done with the presentation of the library?
I've got one more, just like a rendering of what this looks like. So here's what it would look like from the front door. Looking back towards what would be the new circulation desk. The back left would be the back door, back entrance, and then the stairs there to the right. So that's all on the library.
Is that a glass encased stairwell?
It would probably have some glass in it to let the light and just the feel of the building be bigger.
Councilman, you had some questions?
I don't really see the point of having the stairs in the middle of the library, and I don't see the point in actually moving the front desk back. I have been to, I'm pretty sure, to me anyway, the way it's set up right now looks pretty good as it is to me. It's spending extra money for something that we think is necessary and that we don't have.
Well, I mean, I can talk about whether we may have or not have the money, but the architects that we've hired have designed a lot of libraries, and one of the things you think about when you design a library is what can you see from the front desk? And that's a problem with how it's currently designed, because you really can't see the back corners of the library from the front desk. And so that's one of the things that they were trying to alleviate, is to look at how they can make the visibility better. That's safer for staff, it's safer for the patrons, and that's one of the concerns with the current design. And I understand, I mean, it functions. We've used it for the last, how many years, but at the same time, can it be better? That's all we're looking at.
Personally, I kind of like it, frankly. I think it does create some connectivity between the top and the bottom. Right now, it's kind of, the stairwell's hidden. It does feel like two separate spaces. So, you can have kids going right down there versus having to wander to the back corner to go down the stairs. And I like the desk design back against the wall too. And I'm sure the staff has some opinions on how this all functions and works.
And they've been meeting with the architects to give their feedback into that. Councilor Burrow.
Just excellent points on that. I think the point to safety was great to bring up, City Manager Smith. And just really wanted to put my support a little bit behind this again, and thanking the county for putting their part into this too. They obviously see a huge need, and I think making a project like this come to fruition would be fantastic. Can't wait till you talk a little bit more about the figures, but definitely where I want the path, where I want our community to go.
I guess maybe to that point, there's some multicultural aspect to this too. Can you describe that a little bit better?
Yeah, so what we want to do with that idea is really a lot on the staff side, but also in making sure that staff is aware of resources that are available for people in the community and be able to share that and keep it current. But also, there's some programs that other libraries use throughout Oregon who go and get Spanish language materials, which our collection is rather limited in. And then, so participating more actively in that. There's some spaces in here for public art that's been suggested. Maybe we could make it, something that fits our community in that way. So those are some of the ways that we've been working on in that sphere.
Councilor Brown?
Actually,
Councilor Smith?
yes. Sorry.
Okay.
I want to know if there are going to be cameras put in there, and also there's limited books or anything on African American history in there. I usually buy books for my grandsons to read, and I would like to see an increase in that as well. And we got other folks here too, Filipino, Chinese, Japanese, so increase those things in the library as well. So I'm hoping that's a part of the conversation. But are they going to be put in security cameras?
Yeah.
So even though if that is done like that and it's moved back, that they'll have a way that they can also be able to see around.
Yeah, there'll be also cameras will be involved. There's already cameras in the current library, and we would be repositioning or putting new cameras in along with that for security.
Yes, I just wanted to say that as the city manager has said, feedback was given to the architects, the friends of the library, those that you tend to utilize the library more, and some of the members of the library board. Looking into the future, it was considered that we want to attract the younger generations, and the way to do that is by having open spaces, and even for families too, because we tend to make the library a place where it has to be silent, and maybe that can be in one of the sections, but down below, for families that don't have anywhere else, but have to bring their all of their children, they can be below and still be able to engage with the library and come in and get the services that they want. So I appreciate that the architects have been really open to any ideas that have been given to them. And I know that they were at the 3-on-3 tournament, I believe.
It was Melon Fest.
Thank
They
you.
were at Melon Fest, and then they also came to the Fall Bazaar. Yeah.
So they've been out trying to get feedback from the community as well. And we look forward to the last of the conversations that will take place before things start being remodeled in the library.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Beck?
Thank you. I just want to address a point that I don't think I had been considering as we've been looking for this, so I want to thank you, Manager Smith, for reminding that some of the ideas behind these designs are not specifically whether or not we just like how it looks or we think it might be appealing for the public, but also from an operational or staff standpoint, which are really important things to consider when making these design changes. I might not think a staircase is necessary, but or beneficial, but there has been some thought put into this, so I think that's important as we consider what things we're wanting to move forward on. And for the record, I agree with the mayor's comments about the placement of both the staircase and the desk as well.
Mr. Smith, will there be staff downstairs as well?
Yes, there will be. Here's the basement again. If you look, here's where we proposed that desk, circulation desk down there to be. So then again, it's somebody who could see back into that back corner and see through this wall right here. In the current iteration, it's a glass wall, so you can see through it. So it keeps the sound of the kids a little bit contained, still allowing the visibility and the things to go back into the other parts of the library.
Yeah, I like that, because if I was a parent and I was upstairs looking around at circulation and my kids went downstairs and were goofing around or playing around or looking at books, whatever, I want to make sure that they were safe and secure.
Right. Yes.
Good, thank you. Other comments, questions, Councilor Brown?
Just one more for clarification. When we went back at the slide with the figures, was the 2.5 million accounted in the 4.5 million for the project, or is that 4.5 additional?
4.5 is the total project at this point. We have about 2.5 committed to that.
Okay, thank you.
And remind us to, the Lamb Weston money is all currently for the city going towards the pay down in City Hall. Is that right? Or is there any additional funds that the city could allocate towards any of this project?
So we would, that's what we'll get into talk about in a little more detail, not tonight necessarily, but if we combine all of the enterprise zones that we have, we can show that there's a pretty decent cash flow over time to support the City Hall project, these projects, as well as more. And again, because these are more one-time type funds, these types of projects are where that money would be more useful rather than committing it to a program or something where it runs out and you have to reevaluate the program. So, Public Safety Center. So this was, the original portion of the building was occupied around 1972. And then the CSEP addition was completed in 2004. And when we first started looking at a design for City Hall, we really tried to include the police department on this footprint. But because of their needs for more kind of parking and kind of maneuvering type space, it really didn't fit very well in that. But the idea was always, because of the challenges with the current space, to try to help them and work on a project for the police department as we went forward. So some of the inadequacies in the police department, so the detectives are in a separate building, so they're not circulating as much with the patrol and getting that collaboration that could come by being there. And I've used it, they've been very creative in the use of their space. Every little nook and cranny, I think, is been made into an office or something. And so it's a little bit chopped up and hard to kind of say that it's that's super functional or it's at its best. So then also our evidence storage is inadequate, both in size as well as in probably how we're taking care of some pieces of evidence. We're doing very well with the space, with the things that we have, but it probably needs to step up for us to be doing it at kind of best practice level. And then the current arresting and processing space is not, that it's all outside until, there's no indoor space to contain somebody as they're bringing them out of a car to be booked, those types of things. And just frankly, if you think about 1972 to now, you're talking about a lot of time and a lot more officers in that time period in the same basic square footage. And so,
what is the square footage?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I don't know if Jason does.
Cramped.
I knew it at one point, but I think it's right around
12 to 13,000 square feet.
Is that upstairs?
The entire center?
The police side.
The police side.
Is that upstairs and downstairs total?
Yes, and that doesn't include the court space, I don't think, does it? I don't think it does, so.
And the
I
court
think
space is now.
it's vacant at this point.
Okay, I haven't been in court. It's a good thing, yes, but, but how big is that space?
Well, I'll show you some pictures of it, you can get a sense.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Okay, yeah.
Councilman President.
Actually, never mind, I'm gonna say.
Okay.
So then, a couple of years ago, what was your bond election, Scott?
21.
2021, the fire district went out for a bond to upgrade a number of their facilities, including what they call Station 21, which is the main station. And so they're utilizing a similar process that we have chosen on the civic projects, a CMGC team. Their architects are Schlager Zimmerman Architects, and then McCormick Construction. Now, as far as funding goes, I know that the fire district has some available. The city was successful in getting a seismic upgrade grant. Now that will assist in some of the costs, but it's dedicated to certain things. So, but the fire district was successful in using this on a couple of the other stations that they upgraded. And then I'll talk about this a little more after I show some of the images, but there's need for temporary space because with a remodel of this level, we're not going to be able to coexist with the construction. So the current estimate for Public Safety Center, all sides, fire, police, everything, is about $11.5 million. Okay, so here's a pretty artist's rendering or architect's rendering of what the front might look like. And then here's the rear. This is trying to highlight kind of that new Sally Port space. You can see the car right in front of the garage door that would allow them to secure the vehicle and then be able to better secure those that are going to be arrested, booked. Okay, again, super confusing. So the top is north, and that north line is the kind of the edge of the fire bays. So one of the needs that we're meeting as we've been working together with the fire district is they needed a place for their turnouts to ventilate, is that?
Yeah, right now they're inside the base with all the east exhaust.
Right, so they're not, again, not a best practice, not the way you would want their gear that they would wear into fires and things. And so this room is, right now, is used as police space, but they create a door into the fire bays and they would store their their turnout gear there. So then along this wall would be all offices for the chief, captains, and then
Fire support.
this is all police. Other than that one room, all the rest is police. And then a number of other offices down here. And then here's what was the former court space. This room right here is not, that's the patrol office, but everything else that's crosshatched is former court space. And so the proposal would be to make the former courtroom into the evidence storage area, because it's a taller room. They can utilize some shelving systems and be able to get more items in there, and they can set up a more controlled, that's what this room would be, where the officers would come in and they would put the evidence through a system of lockers, and then the evidence technician would take it and store it and keep track of it the way we need to. And then this front part here would then become the records area for the police department. And the reason this area is crosshatched is to make this into a two-phase construction process. So because this is vacated, they could do, most of it is vacated, but we can make this work to where they could renovate this space, move all the evidence down in there before the whole police department needed to vacate the space. And so then the evidence only had to move once. That's a kind of a hurdle from a chain of custody, concerns, those types of things. So, and then back here is where the Sallyport area that I was talking about, with a couple of holding cells in this area. I think, any questions on this portion?
Councilor Myers?
Okay, so where is the front desk, or is it not on this level?
No, this would be, the front desk would be right, there's a black, kind of a dark line right there where my cursor is. That would be the front desk for the records.
So if people are doing public stuff.
Right, if they were coming to get fingerprinted, or if they were coming to get a report, or if they had a question for an officer, they would go there.
Okay.
So it's like what is there now?
Right, it's kind of shifted around, but it's sort of almost the same
So it's
lobby.
not
Where the
the
double
same.
doors,
Yeah.
looks like
It's
it's where the
still
double doors
there.
are. That looks like where the double doors are for the floor. They're pretty close.
Okay, so then this is the upstairs of the remodel. So here's where the detectives would be located. Here's where the drug task force, currently they're located in what I call the police department annex. I don't know if that's what they really call it, but that small building off towards the high school. And then more space for kind of our regular detectives and the lieutenant that oversees the detectives. And then here are the two locker rooms, men and women. And then the additional space here would be a training room, which we don't currently have available to do training. And so this would be on top of the Sallyport, basically. Yeah, Councilor Linton?
So the entire building is just gonna be the police department, and then the fire department is moving somewhere else?
No, so this is all just on the south side of the fire bays, you know, the big garage doors. So let me go back this way. So all that I was showing is on this, kind of this wall right here is the boundary between police and fire. So it's all on this side. There is some renovations. I have not shown you the plans. They're doing some renovation to their sleeping quarters and some things in one of the bays to add some PPE storage and hazmat contamination, decon, yeah. So there is some on the fire side. I haven't highlighted it, but what I've just been showing is what's on the PD side.
Thank you.
How much, can you go back to the schematic? How much of that is new space? Is that?
I mean, new space to the PD would be most of that cross-hatched area.
So we're not building anything on it?
Well, and then I guess, I forget, there is a small addition to create that sally port.
25.
So that's the only new space?
Yeah, that's really the only kind of new construction space.
2,500, roughly.
2,500 square feet? Okay.
And then currently, the police department also has like a workout space, exercise space, right?
Right, that's what we would propose doing, converting the annex building into that workout space. And then the last piece of this, you know, I know when the fire district has large meetings or they have a lot of staff coming in, sometimes they have to park across the street on that, on where the skate park is now. And so we've been working with the school district to get a lease on this cross-hatched area here, that would then be turned into parking for the employees and mostly for employee parking. So they could all be behind a secure, we would be putting a fence somewhere in this area where there's a little bit of parking for the public to come and access the police station, but most of it would be behind a fence that would then be secured.
And that would be for police and fire?
Yes.
Are you gonna put a big mesh net up there?
Actually, yes.
Purple wall.
Purple wall, nice.
Yeah, that's it. We just had some conversations with Dr. Mooney about that. So.
I mean, I hope there's a lot of balls that go out there.
Well, that's, she said, that's the similar comments that she made.
She did tell me this morning she'd be happy to pay for some windshields and police cars if we got to get them over the wall.
So public parking?
The public parking would be just kind of at the front, right in here. It would only need to be, I don't know, a few spaces, and then all the street parking is also available.
Where it is now?
Right.
So currently, public safety vehicles drive in and behind there and can enter the bays from either side, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we have 10 vehicles now, so we have 5 in front, 5 in the back. So the 5 in the back have the.
So they'll still be able to access that
Yes.
space through this
They'll
way.
access that.
They'll just have to go through gated entry.
Right.
Yeah. And what is the conversation with the school district?
It's been good. I think it'll be at a meeting in February when we'll bring a lease. We just kind of confirmed the terms with them on the lease, and
They gotta take it to the board.
yeah, they need to get their side approved and we get ours and good to go.
Great. Because part of that space that you identified there was the old
It was old skate park.
skate park.
Yes.
right? And now that we built a new skate park,
Right.
don't need that. Gotcha.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Did we lease that property from them?
The skate park,
The old one?
the old one, I think it was more of an informal
I think it's
agreement.
no man's land, right?
Yeah, it was their property. It was kind of built, sounded like as a community project almost, and then we just have maintained it. All right, so the final building talk about is the ARC building. So the city leased this building to the ARC of Umatilla County in 1996 for $1 a year, and the ARC is responsible for all of the maintenance. And it's a very old building. I believe it was originally built in 1941-ish. So in 2015 or 16, I can't get the date exactly, they came to us because their HVAC system had gone bad and they were raising money to replace it, but were not able to get enough to do it in the timing that it needed to be done. So we assisted because, you know, they provide a great service to members of our community. And so I think we shared the cost about 50-50. But this came to mind as a temporary police station location, just because it would give us an opportunity to invest in the building, really give some upgrades that could help them, the ARC, in the long term. It does cause some inconvenience, having to move to a temporary location, those type of things. It you know, definitely is a disruption in their services. But the list there below is the ones that we're currently looking at from a project standpoint. Replacing the roof, adding or updating electrical. There's some foundation issues in the rear of the building. Rebuild the front entry ramp. Either re-side or just paint the exterior, and then also look at replacing the windows. And so I don't have, our construction team is working on an estimate for this. I don't have a good solid number yet, but it's not, that list of projects is not going to be inexpensive. So that's, Councilor McCarthy has a question.
I believe, at least to me, and I think I've talked with you about this, Manager Smith, that the ARC organization has had concerns about whether or not they'd be able to utilize the building in the future. And I believe the idea is that, of course, and also you're going to come back to a better building.
Right, and that's, you know, what our contractor's telling us on the Public Safety Center, 12 to 18 months of construction. So that's the time that they would have out of the building. And but as soon as that was done, they would have it back under the same terms, you know, that we have with the lease currently, and move forward that way.
So they've been participatory in a conversation with the city about this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Their board?
Yes.
Their membership?
I don't know how their membership works. I know I met with their board, Brandon and the chief have all met with their board to talk about it.
Okay. Because there seems to be some misunderstanding in the community about the city's taking that away.
Right, and we've been very clear we're not taking it away. This is what we'd like to do to help in the long term.
Will they have temporary, where will they go?
Yeah, so if we can make all of the pieces work right, the idea would be to have them move into the Harkenreiter Center for a time as their temporary location, and then move back to the ARC from there. And we've even had them have some preliminary conversations with the senior center board leadership. They're comfortable with that idea.
So what about the Carnegie building?
You led right into it, Mr.
Look
Harden.
at you.
So the Carnegie building. So currently we're it's used as offices for IT as well as our building maintenance staff is in the basement there. What we're looking at, so the library construction is also going to be very intrusive, right, to operations. And so looking at utilizing the Carnegie as what it was originally built for, as a kind of an interim library space. It wouldn't be a full collection. We don't even know for sure what it would look like, but that's the thoughts that maybe it's, you know, people order the books and we have them available for them and they can just pick them up, kind of a thing, where staff could still enter the library but not the public, kind of a thing is the idea. And then, you know, you've had a group present before you that is very interested in the Carnegie building as a future museum. And so they've been in conversations with us, and, you know, and they understand the other projects that we're kind of working on. They're moving forward on some other projects related to their museum, trying to get a lot of digital, maybe more digital assets, things like that. But that's where we're at with all these buildings.
So,
Yeah.
would there be any updates to the Carnegie building before the library moved in there? So IT would move out, library would move in.
There would be no major
No
upgrades.
significant investment in that facility?
No. There would need to be some minor remodeling to make it work, but yeah.
Okay.
So as far as the dollars, I kind of indicated that earlier. The enterprise zone funds that are starting to, we anticipate will start coming in potentially by the end of this fiscal year, the first payments on one of the two campuses. And then the others will start coming soon after that. Really support doing some borrowing that could, pay off over the long term. We're also working hard. Like I said, we have some funding secured on different projects. So we would be bringing that to the table as well. What I'm proposing to the council is that in your meeting in February, that we would bring to you a lot more detail about the money on all of these and how, and then a potential resolution that would allow us to move forward with the borrowing. Now, the borrowing would also include another project the council's been working on with the North Hermiston North Hermiston Urban Renewal Area. We've been getting feedback from the owners of that property that because of the unknown of where city infrastructure might go, they're having a little more trouble, they feel, marketing it. So we wanted to look at potentially borrowing the money to build that project as well, and it can pay itself off with money just from the development that happens within that urban renewal area.
So we could borrow against the urban renewal initially.
For that piece.
Be paid back by
the increase in property taxes in that area.
So is next meeting is what you're talking about, or the last meeting?
It'd be the first meeting in February.
That's like 2 weeks away. Is that gonna be
3 weeks
enough time
away.
to make this
Mhm.
presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Good. That was cool. Other questions? Did you have anything?
So that's what I wanted to cover. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate all the updates. Great to see all the work that's going on behind the scenes. I think there's a lot of question marks out there sometimes about what's going on with all these moving pieces, so it's great to get caught up on all of that. All right, we are going to quickly adjourn the work session for, is 3 minutes enough for everybody? Okay, 3 minutes. call city manager, city council. No, not work session, city council meeting to order with a declaration of a quorum, all members present. We're going to exclude Councilor Peterson this evening. Please join me in the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tongue-tied tonight. We're going to excuse her, not exclude her. Sorry, Councilor Peterson. If you're just now joining us, we had a work session earlier where we got updates on 6 projects that are going on in the downtown, what did you call this area? City Center. Civic Center. Okay, the Civic Center area. So thank you, City Manager Smith, for a good update. Any changes to the City Council agenda? Okay. Our first item of tonight is a proclamation by the Greater Hermiston Chamber of Commerce.
How about a presentation, Mr. Mayor?
Presentation. Did I say proclamation?
Yes.
You can win this one, buddy. All right. So welcome, Val.
Thank you. It's been a while.
Yes. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening. Nice to be here. I didn't have to skate either. I could drive, so that was nice. Chamber updates. The board has voted to sell the property on Evelyn. We just made that decision in our last meeting. We haven't structured that or know exactly what that looks like yet, but you'll see the first sale sign going up, so I'll let y'all know about that. Open Rewards is a partnership with the city. We've talked about a few times here. We're just excited to announce that they did an article on Hermiston because we've just had such great success with that. It's been fantastic. I really hope everybody's using it. If you're not, you're leaving money on the table. So yeah, that was a fun article. You can see that in our newsletter. If you don't get that, reach out. We'll connect you. We have a couple of upcoming events. You'll see more of those coming around too. Flyers, more details, March 27th. We have Greg Smith joining us right after legislation to talk about what happened in short session. That'll be here at the Community Center from 11 to 1. And another fun thing we have coming up is the Candidates Forum. I'm sure a few of you have heard about that, received invitations. So look for those details to form because it appears there's going to be large attendance, so we may shift where we have that. So yeah. Let's see. Gosh, I think that's it. We have so many things going on, but things, kind of shaping and not exactly formed just yet. But I would encourage anybody to reach out to me anytime. Several folks here do. We're always open to talking, meetings, hearing what you guys are seeing in the community, suggestions. Yeah.
So Val, so you have chamber luncheons?
We do. We were, prior to myself, they were having those every month. When we came back, they weren't well attended, so we shrunk those down to twice a year. And now we've had enough attendance, we're going to go to quarterly.
Okay, so your next one will be?
March 27th from 11 to 1 at the Community Center with Greg Smith being the speaker.
11 to 1 Community Center. And then explain the Open Rewards program as well. So we have some people online. This is a public meeting, so there may be some people out there that haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
Can you refresh everybody's memory of it?
I'd love to talk about it. So you can go to your app, whatever phone you have, Android, iPhone, and you can just type in Open Rewards, blue dot, it will come up. You download that app, and it's as simple as you upload receipts at any chamber member restaurant or entertainment center that you are a customer at. It's fantastic because you get 5% back. You can get that in a check, you can get it deposited back to the credit card you want, or you can just use it for a free meal wherever you want. Right now I have $102. It's fantastic. Think Starbucks rewards. It's kind of like that. Great partnership with the city. It's just been hugely popular. High school kids love it. So yeah, Open Rewards, download the app, take a picture of your receipt. It's that easy. The restaurants, the establishments, they don't have to do anything. That's why it's so popular, because they just have the QR code right there at their point of sale.
Can you remind me how that's funded?
The city funds it. Mark Morgan.
Mark does it out of his pocket? Wow.
Yes, Mark Morgan, he really likes the chamber. So it was brought to our attention by Mark. It's a great program. It's even gaining popularity, I think, San Francisco, New York, Houston. Like I said.
The Hermiston article?
What's that?
Because of the Hermiston article?
Well, the Hermiston article is helping gain the popularity. It was a really great one. It went out as a blast in there to whoever they sent it to, but you can read it. It's a good article.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Yes.
The website again is?
Open Rewards is the app.
Okay.
And so you have to register your city, which city you're doing it in.
Yeah, well, you don't have to do, if you go on there and you set up your account where you live, it automatically takes you to the city. But the good thing about it is if you travel, other cities participate in this as well. So you can look up restaurants for the city that you're in and likely just earn those rewards in those cities as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Why aren't everybody doing it?
Yeah, you're leaving money on the table, literally.
David?
And I think you said that in Hermiston's case, it's very specific to restaurants and entertainment centers that are members to the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce.
That is correct. They have to be members of the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce to participate in this.
Support small local businesses.
Exactly the point, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it works.
very good.
Mm-hmm.
What else going on?
Well, we've been really busy trying to stay relevant in new times, Chambers have had to really look deep at what works in their community. And like I've said and I've heard, when you've met one chamber, you've met one chamber. Because you've met one city, right? We're all unique. So we're trying to remain relevant in the times we're in today. And really, it's important to us to drive local business. So we try to stimulate that and come up with ways. We did a Christmas blitz where we gave away $1,000. If you shopped at a local business, any local business that was a chamber member, you could submit your receipt. And then we drew on our radio show on Tuesday morning a winner, and we gave them $1,000 a week before Christmas.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
You also have a big change to a major event you hosted for decades.
Yeah, DCA. Mm-hmm.
What's going on?
So we didn't want to see DCA go away. We found value in the community, but we didn't see the fit in our mission, how that drove business home. We loved the event, but for funding, time, and mission, frankly, it didn't fit into those things. So we looked around, we sourced we went to lots of service organizations in different places, and we were fortunate enough that the Good Shepherd Health Foundation has decided to adopt that lovely event. So it'll still go on, it just won't be hosted by the chamber.
Okay.
We're supporting them, we handed over all the information, working with them, so they'll do a fantastic job. They'll take it to new levels, it'll be terrific.
Awesome. Councilor Carter?
I believe the new date is March 12th for the event.
March 12th.
Is that the firm
I
date?
believe so. It's whatever that Saturday is.
Yeah.
Okay. So historically, there's been multiple awards that have been recognized at that event.
That's correct.
Are they going to maintain the same sort of structure, awards, and how the nomination process, and don't know?
They have not shared any of that with me. However, that being said, I did hand over, I connected emails between the foundation, all of our sponsors, so they could continue to sponsor, all of our awards, the ambassadors. I connected them together so that they could utilize those sources if they choose.
Yeah. Well, it's been great service the chamber has provided to the community for, like I said, decades. And so, sad to see you guys
Yes.
giving it up, but Good Shepherd Health Foundation is a fabulous organization, and their executive director, I'm sure, will take it and run with it, and probably, like you said, take it to new levels. So.
She'll take it to new levels, yeah. And of course, we're going to come up with events. You can look for those coming forward, but we're trying to remain, like I said, relevant to the business. What do the business needs? What are those? And we're learning that.
Great.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you, Val, for coming tonight, and thank you for your partnership and what you do for small businesses in our community.
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you to the city for the partnership. Thanks for having me.
All right, We're now at the first opportunity for citizen input on non-agenda items. So if there's an item that is not on our current agenda that you would like to speak to, please come up to the front, introduce yourself by name and address, direct your comments to me, and try and limit them to less than 5 minutes. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda, items A through E. Do we need to pull any of those? Any public comments on consent agenda items A through E? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items A through E?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Turner, second by Councilor McCarthy, that we approve consent agenda items A through E as presented. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Motion passes 6-1 with Councilor Linton in the opposition. No items pulled for number 9, ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 2352, adopting a business license fee. Mr. Smith.
Yes, so, last meeting, we had some confusion as we merged 2 different ordinances together. And so, tonight, ordinance 2352 would institute a business license fee. And to address some of the questions that came up last time, employees would include owner and his spouse. A full-time equivalent, if you would calculate that by all the hours worked in Hermiston in a year and divide that by 2080, and that would give you what a full-time equivalent, and that would then go into the formula that's there with a base fee for someone, a business with a permanent location, $85, without a permanent location, $100, and then the base fees, and then the 50 plus employees. So those fees won't be in the ordinance that you're considering first, but they'll be in the fee resolution that will come as the next item. So this ordinance institutes a business license fee, would be effective January 1, 2025. And from a revenue standpoint, it would generate approximately $100,000 a year. With that, I'd be happy to answer.
Council, any questions? Yeah, Councilor McCarthy.
I also want to make sure I understand the point that you made. All that we would be voting on is whether or not to adopt a business license fee. Further down the agenda is deciding what those fees would be.
That's correct.
Okay.
The first item is just establishing a business license fee.
Are we on ordinance 2352, this part of 2352?
This is 2352.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I did have some questions on that. But the business license fee, like one for $85, that's for the entire year, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so all the fees are for the entire year?
Yes.
Okay, on page 4, under 2352. Is 119.05.
Yes.
My question has to do with garage sales and yard sales. I feel that that should be a part of this. Just want to make sure it isn't a part of being charged a fee or anything like that.
So the section 119.05 is a list of those activities that are exempt from needing a business license fee, so that garage sales is one of those. And as long as it doesn't turn into a business and it gives some, you have to have more than 5 sales in a calendar year, and one sale can't last more than 72 hours.
Okay, because usually during the summertime, a lot of families will have just single family sales and they're every weekend. So would they have to get a license if they decide during the summertime to?
If they're gonna have more than 5 during the summertime.
Okay, I'm not for that. I think with yard sales and garage sales, I think that that should be exempt. It should be like, they should not have to get a license. That's just my opinion on that one.
Question, isn't there already an ordinance that covers you can only have so many yard sales in a year?
Yes, that's correct. And this would coincide with that.
Okay, 119.11. Oh, for A, 119.11A, I'd like to see that, if it can be, an agreement to change that to 15 business days, instead of just saying 15 days, because that could be consecutive versus business days.
Okay, is that, I could do that's each time. Okay.
Okay, and on page 10, number 7, it's under C, and 7. That's a little vague. I'm not sure what that encompasses. Like to see more details or taken out.
Well, the reason that something like that's in there is so that we don't have to count, if there's a piece of information that we find is necessary for an application, we don't have to come and ask to put it on the list. But if there's something within, I mean, it doesn't give us, I don't think it wouldn't give us the right to ask for confidential information or anything like that, but it would, within the scope of applying for this license fee.
So did it read something like any other information that is related to license fees as the city determines necessary that be requested? Because that's just, it's a little too vague.
Okay.
Councilman McCarthy, have a point on that?
Yeah, I believe something like this, and tell me if I'm off base here. Actually, let me frame that as a question. The process of obtaining the other information, what would be the procedure to decide what information needs to be gathered, typically?
I mean, I think we've included in the list everything that we think would be appropriate right now. I would see, maybe there's something new comes up that we would want to gather from each business. And this is particularly under trade shows and carnivals. So that's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would have to be something new that we saw was necessary. Maybe the state puts a requirement on carnivals that says now they have to be licensed by the state, so then we would ask them to provide us the state license number. Something like that. That's the best example.
Right, we would just add that into this at that time.
Right, that way we could just incorporate it into the application, wouldn't have to come back to the council to ask for permission.
Perfect.
And do a whole new ordinance. So,
You have any questions?
Yes.
Okay. Any others from the council? Yes.
I'm just happy we're not looking at doing it before 25, okay, because I think it's gonna be something that's gonna have to be a lot.
it gives us an opportunity to educate and inform. Yeah.
And Mr. Smith, this is a ordinance that you would be sending out an application
Yeah,
process.
we'd send some sort of an address with a You know, we anticipate this being potential for an online process. They can fill out an application online,
And this would go to all known businesses?
all known businesses.
I mean, most of them are supposed to are required to register with the state, right? Some do, some don't.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be the known businesses within town.
Mhm.
It would be, I mean, what are the teeth in this if somebody didn't comply?
There's penalties. So any person violating this ordinance should be punished with a fine not to exceed $1,000, each day constituting a separate offense, tried in a municipal court.
So it's a violation, they would have to go in front of the court
Yes.
to defend.
We'd have to prove that they didn't have a license, but they'd have due process.
Okay. And so it's not voluntary compliance, but there's a lot of ownership on the business for stepping up and complying, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
I do
Counselor?
have another question, sorry. I was asked this question by someone and I didn't have an answer. And they wanted to know, will business license also cover vacation homes or rental property?
So I believe there's a requirement under the TRT that they register when they, again, we just adopted a change that if they're renting it over 7 days in a year, I think and advertising it, then they're required to license there. But yes, it would be a business, they would need to get a business license as well. So they would come under both of those ordinances.
Thank you.
Other questions, Council? Any public questions on ordinance number 2352?
You said questions, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you go back to the last page?
Can you introduce yourself?
Yes,
again?
my name's Kenna West. I
Yes.
live on 690 West St. Piper Avenue.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
So am I reading this correctly up there? The base fee you're looking at is $85. Then you go down there to like 50 plus employees, and so the max anybody would be paying would be $1,000.
That's how it's proposed, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, but
Okay.
that kind of seems very silly to me. I'm a small business owner, and $85 to me is going to be a lot of money. I know other small business owners that $85 is going to be a lot of money. And so you're telling me that I have to pay $85, but some big business around here is only going to pay $1,000? That does not seem right to me. So Walmart's going to pay $1,000 and I have to pay $85? Like, does that add up? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If anything, the bigger businesses should be paying more money to me. Like, I'm sorry, but no services being provided on this. And I know we talked about this, I've been in the last previous city council meetings, I know there's been a lot of discussion here, but no services are being provided to business owners. And so, paying a fee to me when I'm not receiving anything in return as a small business owner, $85 is a lot of money. $1,000 to Walmart is not a lot of money. The distribution here doesn't seem accurate to me. I want you guys to really think about that. Like, to me, I know lots of people talk about, oh, $5 coffee, this and that, but that's a lot of money to me. And I just don't think that distribution there makes sense. I don't want to pay any business license fee whatsoever, because I'm not getting anything in return from it. That's my personal opinion. And I know there's lots of other small business owners that fully agree with me on this. But if we are to pay a fee, that scale doesn't make a lot of sense. So I urge you to please consider that breakdown. A small business that has 1 or 2 employees that literally jumps up and down every single time they make a sale for $100 should be paying $85. And a big business that makes buku bucks should not be paying $1,000. That distribution doesn't make any sense to me. So please consider that.
Other comments?
Nick Ridley, 10030 Southwest Olive Court. It's probably in your guys' list, I haven't seen it, but I'm curious if this applies to people who work remotely. it's a lot of people doing that, and prospect, I do it, of potentially being fined $1,000 a day for every day that I'm in violation of paying a business license seems atrocious. Again, agree with how it's broken out. Seems like it's really going to impact those smaller mom and pop shops who are selling crocheted stuff on Etsy at home. Like, what? You really want to nickel and dime those people? Maybe put this at assess it as a minimum amount sold. Put a $20,000 minimum before you're even considered a business in the city of Hermiston. You're probably going to cut out maybe 3% of the companies, and it's going to make a big deal to those who are making 15 extra grand to try and get them through the end of the year, and probably not do a whole lot to that top number of $100,000, which honestly seems a little early to say that's how much it's going to bring in when we don't even have a firm number or a number of businesses that we're going to be looking at. Try to carve out for those smaller businesses who are just trying to make it to the end of the year. Would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Question? Councilor?
Yes, I'm trying to do the math right now, but if City Manager Smith, you're aware, from the 6 to 49 full-time employees, when that maxes out, let's just say max out to 49, what would that top end be?
It's like 875. Okay.
Thank you.
I for one think there's a point to be made with the top end being $1,000 for 50 plus employees. If we wanted to go down, wouldn't making the motion, but right now I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts. I would be in favor of raising that, the max out to $200 more. It kind of feels a little arbitrary at this point for me to just suggest $200, but I think the point is made that the bigger businesses can pay a little bit more of their fair share.
Sorry, it was 745, because it's, first 5 are included in the 85. 745.
And just as a reminder, the fees aren't in this initial ordinance that we're talking about.
Then maybe we can get to the nitty-gritty in the next ordinance, and I'm pretty done, I guess, conversing about this. If there's no questions, I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Any other public comment?
My name's Christy Kopax. My business is 371 East Hurlburt for Sugar Shack. I had a few questions on this, and the big question is, not a lot of the businesses around here are even aware of it. We spoke to several here downtown, and none of them even know this was coming about. So that's a little hard to understand also, from a business point of view. I've lived here since the second grade on the business for 33 years, and those are pretty high prices. I also buy business licenses through the state that I also have to purchase. So I'd like to find other ways to generate the money. You know, as a citizen, we have these big Amazon companies coming in. Are we getting any revenue from that? I don't understand if that would help out our city. I'd like to see it help it. And then if you implement this now, is it going to increase every year? Because that's usually once something's decided in, voted in, then it's every year an increase without a cap. That's also a little scary as a business owner. But people always are complaining about how Hermiston doesn't have a lot to offer. So people are trying to stay in business and trying to run businesses in that economy. And, you know, those are kind of scary numbers, especially if you have employees. I just think you need to have the business, all the local businesses know more about it. I know just on Main Street that hardly any know about it. Businesses that have been in business a long time, Hermiston Drug was one that we just spoke to tonight. So, you know, I don't know if something can be voted on and passed if your businesses themselves that you want to implement the fee don't know about it. That's kind of hard to pass that on to them. You know, it's like a sock in the gut if you don't know you're going to get it. So, I just think more discussion needs to be made and more businesses need to be aware. And small businesses, the food trucks and everybody else, you know, that's just more needs to be discussed. So, thank you. Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, council. So this is an ordinance, so we got to go through reading the ordinance. Is that right? Okay. So mayor requests first reading of the ordinance be read by title only and calls for a roll call. Roll call. That's you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Tubby?
First reading by title only of ordinance number 2352, an ordinance amending title 11 of the Hermiston Municipal Code by adding chapter 119 entitled Business License.
Mayor requests that the ordinance be put on for final adoption at this meeting, and that the second reading be by title only. Calls for a roll call. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Tubby?
Second reading by title only of ordinance number 2352, an ordinance amending title 11 of the Hermiston Municipal Code by adding chapter 119 entitled Business License.
Mr. Tubby, when you're speaking, can you speak into the microphone? It's hard to hear.
Yeah, am I not even close enough?
No.
Let's move things.
You're like whispering. Everybody here, okay?
I can read.
I got it.
Okay. Good. Can you read it again? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Second reading by title only of ordinance number 2352. Is that what? Can you hear me?
That's better.
An ordinance amending title 11 of the Hermiston Municipal Code by adding chapter 119 entitled Business License.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're at the motion point for ordinance number 2352. And so you have an action tonight, a couple alternatives. You know, adopt ordinance number 2352 without modification, with minor modification, or direct staff to make major changes to the ordinance and return at a later date. What would the council like to do? Council Burke? Okay. Are you making a motion? No. Councilman?
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we table this for further discussion and later date.
Okay, so Council Linton has made a motion to table ordinance number 2352 and return it at a later date. Is there a second? Not seeing a second. Fails. Any other motion?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So what's being put on the table is just whether or not we adopt a business license fee at this time. Is not the actual.
It's what you're establishing the business license. In this ordinance, it says that the fees will be established by, or will be set by resolution, which is, the fee discussion is the next item on the agenda.
Then I would like to motion that we adopt ordinance number 2352 without modification.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Councilor McCarthy, second by Councilor Myers, that we adopt ordinance 2352 without modification. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Motion passes 6-1. Councilor Linton in the opposition. All right, so now we're moving on to B, Resolution 2305, updating the master fee schedule for business license and sewer fees. Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is bringing back the master fee schedule for adoption of business license fee and a reconsideration and potential adoption of the sewer rate increase that was proposed at the last meeting. So, as we've talked, this is the proposed fee schedule for that. If you want to discuss that some more right now, Mr. Morgan has some thoughts or information to share related to the sewer rate increase. I don't know how you'd like to handle that.
Okay, let's talk about the business license fee first. Comments?
Just a question to establish what we would be motioning on, at least regarding the business license fee, is whether or not we adopt what's presented and or make changes to the current presentation.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. Other questions?
Okay, are there other cities around us, like our same size, that have similar fees for business licenses?
Yeah. I would say most cities of our size and larger have a business license fee. This ordinance, or this fee structure in particular, was modeled after Pendleton. It's a similar fee structure that they have. It's slightly lower than theirs, but that's where we got this particular fee structure.
Councilor Brewer?
City Manager Smith, would you happen to know how many businesses would fall under the 50 plus at this point?
I would not.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the updated sewer rate conversation.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, members of the council, last council meeting, we had some questions on specifically the sewer rates. And so there was a number of questions that were brought up on the topic, and it was tabled based on kind of where the conversation with the council was. What's before you this evening is just bringing those same sewer rates as proposed previously, so that you can discuss them from there in more detail just by themselves. So a little bit, again, of background of why we adjust our utility rates annually. Mainly it's to keep up with inflation, but then additionally, we know that ultimately if we were to fall behind inflation and projects were to come up, we would be able to adjust those rates. And so by adjusting them annually and trying to keep up with inflation that way, a big component of what that does is it provides predictability and stability for customers, so that they're seeing, increases of 3, 4, 5% per year rather than nothing for 5, 6 years and then seeing a big jump of 15 or 20% or those types of things. So again, we do annual adjustments starting about 5 or 6 years ago. Then with the significant increase in inflation in 21-22, council decided to take a 3-year look back and average those 3 years of inflation to smooth out the spike in inflation. So if we were to do that this year, that 3-year look back of inflation would be to adjust the water and sewer utility rates by 5.77%. It was decided, though, or it was recommended to bring to the council that instead, now this year, we really only do a 1-year look back because inflation has cooled considerably in 2023. If we just look at that 1 year, inflation in 2023 itself was 2.58%. So the adjustments, again, just on the sewer side of things, this would bring the monthly sewer base rate to $40.67 and the usage per 1,000 gallons of sewage sent to the system to $3.49. That brings the increase per month to the median residential user an increase of $1.37 for those. It was mentioned through the discussion at the last council meeting a couple of ways of looking at it. Important to keep in mind what we're doing when we're adjusting these to keep up with inflation is really to maintain our purchasing power. As inflation continues to increase, that reduces our ability to purchase materials. It increases the cost of labor for either our own forces to maintain the system or a contractor to come in and make improvements to the system. So when we look at how our adjustments are keeping up with our purchasing power, if we do that 3-year look back, that 5.77% increase, because that's how we changed to here a couple of years ago, implementing that would keep our purchasing power even with where we were at previously. Based on the sewer department's annual revenue of just under $5 million currently, 5.77% increase would increase our real inflation, not adjusted dollars, by $284,000. So if we implement only the 2.5% increase based on the 1 year of inflation, then we would be bringing in an additional $127,000. But relative to inflation, our purchasing power will have been eroded by $157,000. There was a couple of things discussed last meeting, but it seemed to finally settle on only applying this increase to only our commercial customers. Important to keep in mind that based on our customer makeup, approximately 80% of our revenue on the sewer system, it comes from residential customers. Approximately 90% of our customers in total are residential customers. 80% of the revenue comes from residential customers. So if we were to only apply that 2.58% increase, then the actual dollar increase next year in the sewer fund would be about $27,000. So we would fall behind in purchasing power by about $257,000. So with that, stand for any questions. I do have more detail. There was some discussion about looking into percentiles and doing those types of things if you'd like to get into that, but that seemed to be the main highlights that you asked about last meeting.
Okay. Council, any questions? Council Lynn?
Yes, at the last meeting, I had suggested that we make it the 5.16 for the commercial rate. With that, if it went up to 5.16, we would get 254 grand, I believe, because I do not feel that we should have it the same with the, I think that's general public rate. I think it should be lower. Commercials, businesses, they'll pass off to commercials and to their consumers anyway. And so I'm still saying that I'm against the residential rate being the same as the commercial. I think the commercial rate should be higher, and then that way we could go a little lower on the residential percentage-wise.
Yeah, so I didn't want to get too into some of these tables too much, but if I was tracking what you were saying there is, if we were to go with that 5.7% increase only on the commercial rather than 2.5% increase, that's an option that I didn't run the analysis on. But again, we look there and we can see that we have 411 commercial accounts on the sewer system. They generate a little over $1 million per year, so the 5.77% on $1,049,000 would only generate $60,000 per year on the commercial accounts. I did run some scenarios looking at, so in this instance, if we were to do the 2.5% on the commercial accounts, that's where you see the $27,000 increase. This was a scenario that I looked at to look at and see, well, if we were trying to raise that $127,000 total, which is what you would see if we had done the 2.5% on all of them. If we were trying to collect that entire $127,000 only from the commercial accounts, in order to do that, it would require an increase on commercial users of about 12%. So what that would result in for small commercial users, something like a bookstore that maybe flushes a toilet once a day, they would see an increase of around $70 a year. And large commercial, what I consider to be large commercial things like a chain fast food restaurant, they would see an increase of around $500 a year. So there was a few different iterations that I looked at here, but that's why I didn't want to get too into it. Because I can see some eyes glazing over already.
Yeah, well, looking at your, up here, your percentage, that's not what I was recommending. That's much, much higher. That's 12.1%. I was at 5.16%. So
Yeah.
you have something close
Yeah,
to that.
so that's the number that I mentioned where you can see where we have commercial revenues, you know, all that we collect from commercial accounts in an entire year is that $1,049,000 that shows there. So 5% of $1,049,000 would generate a little under $60,000 per year.
One thing I would maybe interject as well from business owner's perspective. You know, obviously I have a conflict of interest in the conversation because I'm a business owner, but when the business owner's expenses go up, there's a margin that business expects to make. So if you raise the expenses significantly, their margin goes on top of that, which increases cost to the consumer significantly. The community is going to pay for it one way or another. If it's passed through the business, it's going to be at a significantly higher rate because they're going to put their percentage on top of the expense. And so it could be a significantly higher cost to the consumer rather than if it were to go through the residential. Just one business's perspective. Other questions from the council on this comments? You have a question?
Not for the sewer part of it.
Okay.
Just on the business license.
Okay. Any questions before we leave the sewer part? Okay. You want to go back to the business license question?
Yeah, because this is what we'll be voting on when we pass the fees that we vote yes on. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes, so I do want to go back.
Okay.
Some of the comments that we're giving.
What page was that again? Oh, there it is. Got it, 16. Yeah. Okay.
Personally, I would like to see that if we could have more discussions on it. Some of the comments that were made, I believe were very valid comments, and I would like to have more discussion on it, if at all possible, to maybe readjust some of this. I like the part about at a certain rate, 15,000 or 20,000, they wouldn't have to pay a higher fee. Or, you know, go over that before they have to pay a license. And then also, I would like to have this. I have talked to food pot people to let them know about this and in the past. So if other businesses haven't heard about it, I think we should send them out a letter or something and invite them to come out to be a part of the discussion at a future meeting, give them opportunity to be able to go over it. And be able to come and give their input. And I do think that maybe with the 50+ employees, the $1,000 maybe that should be a little bit higher.
Okay. Yeah, Councilman President.
Thank you. In regards to the license fees, I believe you stated that the structure that we've adopted both in the language of the ordinance and the fees is similar to other cities in the region and some sample text also from League of Oregon Cities. That's correct. As well as the fee structure. Have we seen any models in your research where an income cap or limit of any sort has been adopted?
In my research, no, not on the income. I think, I mean, as far as getting into more business-sensitive information, that's something I think business owners are less interested in sharing than how many employees they have and how many hours their employees work. I think that's one of the reasons why a model like this has been adopted by more cities.
So is your question, David, if a business wanted, so if you put some sort of minimum on a, I don't know, would it be a net or a gross, right?
Whichever.
Probably a net number. And you said $20,000, business netted $20,000 in revenue. How would they prove that? I think would be the question. I think is that what you're
Have we
suggesting?
seen that language be adopted in other?
Okay. Have you seen that in your research? Right.
Okay. And you said no. That's great.
Other questions on that? Yeah, Councilor Rome.
Just want to share kind of a comment where I feel like I'm at. I concur with Councilor Linton a little bit more on kind of being able to wait a little bit more. I guess having more discussion about this. I guess in light of the business license ordinance already passing and in light of it not actually going into effect until 2025, I wouldn't mind having a little bit more discussion on the structure of it and how we want to lay it out, seeing as it's not even going to be going into effect until next year. I think right now we can still have conversations with businesses as to like that this is going to happen, and if there, I guess, is more public comment that we can't take that in. But I'm particularly interested in kind of structuring it, and maybe I'm getting a little too into the nuances, but I mean, this is the first time we're deploying or implementing this, and I would want to try to get it as neat as possible, especially since we have months to wait. So those are my comments on this.
Thank you.
Moving forward, I feel comfortable moving forward on the second part, on the sewer part. If the rest of the council doesn't feel that and they didn't want to go forward with the whole resolution, that's fine by me, but I feel comfortable with tabling the first part and maybe moving forward on the sewer part. But that's kind of where I'm at, and I just want to share those comments.
So, Mr. Smith, the council could adopt the master fee schedule and table the business portion, but adopt the rest of it?
Yes.
Okay, that could be a recommendation.
That's
All right,
what
Councilor
was-
McCarthy, you had your hand up again.
Correct. Thank you. So if we were to amend the business license fees, which would, all that we would be tabling for now, as I understand, if we did do that, the only discussion that we would be having is what fees are we actually charging, and are we charging more or less in any particular section, correct?
I mean, yes, but and no, right? I mean, the longer you talk about it, is there going to be other discussion about making other changes? I would suggest that could be very possible.
And just curious if you can offer any other input besides just a couple of examples on how we arrived at that 50+ cap, and on how that number was decided.
I just took a look at how Hamilton's was structured. I went a little bit lower, and so it's basically the same ratio.
So we're a little bit lower than comparable to similar structures, would be your opinion?
Then
On the high end.
I haven't looked at everybody.
But from what you're,
Yes.
Other comments, questions? Okay. Any public comment about resolution number 2305? Okay. Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
I would like to make a motion to table the business license fees to a later date in order to give us opportunity to discuss it more. And
Okay. So Councilor Linton's motion would be to approve resolution 2305 and the master fee resolution, except for the portion regarding business licenses. that would be tabled to a later date. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Been moved by Councilor Linton, seconded by Councilor Primer. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to move on to ordinance 2353, amending chapter 70 and chapter 72 of the Hermiston Municipal Code. Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So over the past probably 6 months, code enforcement, police department, the court, and the city attorney have been looking at our parking ordinance requirements. And so what's before you in 2353 is some changes proposed to that. Here I'm going to just outline the changes. First, it amends the penalty for most traffic violations to a D violation. It adds a violation for parking on a street that's been closed by the city or by a permit issued by the city. It clarifies some language regarding the ability to give a citation to U.S. Postal Service vehicles or have them towed. And clarifies some other language related to towing, and it amends a parking citation procedure. There was another option besides having it go to municipal court. It was in the ordinance, and that, as far as we know, that's not been utilized ever. And so this just removes that language, and all parking citations would then go through municipal court.
Council questions?
What's a D violation?
What's a D violation? Mr. Tubbs?
Glad we have lots of help. So the D violation is the lowest for the violations that we can handle here at the municipal court. It's 150. Initially,
That's the fine.
$115.
$115 fine.
150.
115.
115. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Did that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Council? All right. Any public comment on ordinance number 2353? Okay. Seeing none, Mayor requests first reading of the ordinance be read by title only and calls for a roll call. Roll call. Council?
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Tubby?
First reading by title only, ordinance number 2353, an ordinance amending chapter 70 general provisions and chapter 72 parking regulations of the Hermiston Municipal Code.
Mayor requests that the ordinance be put on for final adoption at this meeting and second reading be by title only. Calls for a roll call. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Tubbs?
Second reading by title only, ordinance number 2353, an ordinance amending chapter 70 general provisions and chapter 72 parking regulations of the Hermiston Municipal Code.
Can I get a motion that ordinance number 2353 be adopted and become effective 30 days after adoption by the City Council?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved by Councilor Linton, seconded by Councilor Myers, that ordinance number 2353 be adopted and become effective 30 days after adoption by the City Council. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Ordinance number 2354, amending chapter 96 of the Hermiston Municipal Code. Mr. Smith?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So this ordinance was originally adopted by the council in April of last year, kind of dealing with people's conduct within city facilities and being able to take action to them to leave and so forth. As we've, utilized that over the last 9 months, 10, 11 months, I guess. We found some things that we'd like to kind of clean up and make changes. So the amendments that are before you tonight in 2354 would allow the police officers to issue exclusion notices for 30 days, and then with repeat notices possible for 90, and then 180 days. And this really just mirrors the ordinance that relates to city parks, so that they have the same kind of framework to deal with in both places. And then amends the ordinance to add the penalty of a Class A violation if someone violates an exclusion notice. So if they've been excluded from a building, they come, they can be cited for a Class A violation. Those are the changes proposed.
The exclusion violation is after multiple warnings?
It depends. Sometimes it's only one time, and they might have been, we've had some recent where people are playing with fire in buildings, melting things, the library.
Should it happen right away?
Yeah, so from a safety standpoint, we needed to take care of it.
And a Class A violation is pretty significant.
Yeah, what's the fine on that? $440.
And could include up to jail time, is that right? No. 440.
Yes.
If some of these individuals were able to collect that money from?
Probably not.
So, I guess,
But it does give the opportunity for the judge can give community service for, a certain amount that equals that, some other penalties that could be related to that.
Okay. I saw Councilman Rome first.
Part of my ignorance, if there's an exclusion, I guess when like a trespass kind of come next, or I guess that's more on the criminal side of things, right? But if someone's doing something like that in the bathrooms, wouldn't they be, I guess, trespassed? Or is this kind of like the first line of defense before a judge can actually officially give a trespass order?
I mean, that's what I would say. This is our first
Okay.
effort working with someone who's not behaving properly in a building.
Councilman Covey?
Yeah, just for a point of clarification, can we define what an exclusion notice is?
Yeah, we have a form that the city attorneys helped us develop, has some information. I think the police department has their own form related to this, is that right? Or are we using the same? Oh, with parks, so we're gonna combine that if this goes where we have one form. But just has basic information about the person, what they did to receive the exclusion, and how long it lasts, things like that.
Bars them from utilizing that facility.
Right. And, then it's, the officer that serves it on them has to sign it, and then we keep it on file.
Councilman?
As a suggestion, what has been done at the sleep center is that they take a picture of the person so that who's ever working, if that person come back when they're asked not to come back, we would be able to recognize them and say, okay, you can't come to the facility because of your previous violation of the rule.
Sometimes we're able to do that, sometimes not.
That's not his work.
Yeah. We've been able to use security cameras at times to get that, but not all the time.
Yeah, Councilman.
So basically, this action is, because, like in a trespass situation, the property owner or the property controller has to make the decision to actually trespass somebody. This allows the police officer to take that first step and remove, take care of the immediate problem immediately, as opposed to
Correct.
wait through to go
Right.
through all the process.
Give me the notice, or the building, the library director or whoever. And so this allows them to take action right then, serve the paperwork and get it. Whereas we've had some problems where we did this and then had to go find the person.
Yeah, you have to track
because
down
they've
the
been
person and
gone.
give them the trespass notification,
Right.
as opposed to, this takes care of an immediate threat as opposed to.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really, and that's really the main goal of this, is to allow the officers to be able to take some action right as they take care of the situation.
So one of the, at one of our last council sessions, we talked about, one of the things that was talked about was, giving the police officers, giving them additional tools or unhandcuffing them under certain circumstances. This is one of those situations that creates that
Yes.
that process. So I am all for this.
Very good. Yeah, Councilor Meyer?
Okay, so then after that would come criminal trespass?
Well, so that is the possibility. So the way this is laid out, individuals that violate property rules, they get a warning, of course, and if they can get their everything in line, they can stay. But if they can't, the next level goes to these exclusions. And once excluded, then why we are adding this A violation as well is then there's some possibilities. They can be cited. They can also be cited for trespass. There's a couple avenues that they could go through this process.
Again, you know, there's a lot of efforts to try not to criminalize certain activities, and so this is a way that we can do that. We still try to enforce our rules, but not necessarily make it a criminal action.
It doesn't have to be a police officer.
Right, we have a process in place already. This adds the officers as being able to act in this ordinance in that way.
Okay. Other questions? Any public comment on ordinance number 2354? Okay. Mayor, request first reading of the ordinance be read in title only. Calls for a roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Tuttle.
First reading by title only of ordinance number 2354, an ordinance amending chapter 96 of the Hermiston Municipal Code.
Mayor requests that the ordinance be put on for final adoption at this meeting, and the second reading be by title only. Calls for a roll call. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Tuttle.
Second reading by title only of ordinance number 2354, an ordinance amending chapter 96 of the Hermiston Municipal Code.
Can I get a motion that ordinance number 2354 be adopted and become effective 30 days after adoption by the City Council?
So moved.
Second.
And moved by Councilor Turner, seconded by Councilor Harden, that ordinance number 2354 be adopted and become effective 30 days after adoption by the City Council. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2306, Planning Services Contract with Winterbrook Planning for Urban Growth Boundary Expansion Services. Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In February, we received a report from a firm that we asked to look at our industrial lands, how much do we have available, you know, what types of lands, all those types of things. One of the findings of that report is that we were very short on large parcels because our large parcels had just been purchased. And so they recommended that we explore the idea of expanding our urban growth boundary. And so we went through a request for qualifications process, and with that, through that process, selected Winterbrook Planning, and which will walk us through the process of a UGB expansion. And the price is $233,000, and all of that is paid. We have a memorandum of understanding with an interested landowner or interested potential landowner that will pay for all of these services for us.
Questions, Councilman?
I just want to make sure I heard you right. Somebody else paid.
That's correct.
So in the words of Tom Peterson, free is a very good price.
Yes.
Okay. So, UGB expansions aren't easy.
They're not.
And
That's why the consulting fee is
Yes.
$233,000.
So, I mean, the consultant feel pretty confident this is something that we can achieve. Okay. The other question I have, does this impact future UGB expansions should we choose to go down that pathway? Because there's some conversation at the state level currently around housing. And one of the complaints a lot of cities have is they don't have room for growth for housing because of our land use rules in the state. So the state is talking about expanding UGBs and allowing cities one-time exemption to that. So this would not be prohibitive from us doing a housing growth expansion. Does that make sense?
Not knowing exactly how the legislature would write the law, I mean, I hesitate a little bit, but probably not. I think the things that I've seen along those lines, I think we could still do what we're doing and be able to take advantage of it one time. If I remember, some of the proposals would be related to particularly residential land, which we don't have as great a need for as maybe other cities. And so this is still in our best interest because of the industrial land is what we're looking for and not residential specifically.
I can also add a little background to that on the current proposal that we're working on is what we would call a conventional UGB expansion. And we had worked with DLCD staff specifically to not go through the expedited UGB expansion because it does put a time limit on it. You cannot use it again within 10 years. So we specifically are not going down that path with this one.
Thank you. Other questions, Council? Councilor Berman?
Not a question, just a comment, but in these types of resolutions, I mean, it's a planning service contract, but I mean, it sounds like a big deal. I mean, potentially, right? There's a lot of things that can happen between now and then, but for an interested landowner or a potential landowner to want to invest and look for a parcel that huge, that sounds pretty great. So thank you for the consulting work that you've been able to do to try to get people like these business owners or these people interested in what Hermiston has to offer.
Comments, Council? Any public comment? Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt resolution 2306 and lay it upon the record?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCarthy. Yes. Second by Councilor Berman. That we adopt resolution 2306 and lay it upon the record. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously, 7-0. December 2023 financial report, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so won't be going through the kind of the conventional slides, but just want to highlight a few things from the report that was in your council packet. Property taxes are coming in maybe a little bit ahead of normal schedule. We're at 95% of projected property tax collections at this point in the year. General fund expenses are on a good track. This month in particular, we're 5% below projections. Year to date, we're 4.4% below projections. Then capital projects, we have a number of things going on. Phase 2 of the regional water system improvements. They had a pre-construction meeting. That project will be moving forward. The lead and copper program has started out really well, and then the snow kind of put a little bit of a brakes on them, but they were doing quite a number of the 300, is it 350 that they were doing about 60 in a week, so that was good progress, but they'll have been out, not in town working for the last couple of weeks, so. Well, number 5, improvements nearly complete. Also, just in that general area, the Hermiston Drain project to pipe that segment there is completed. Now it's covered in snow, can't really see it, but that's another project we've kind of been nursing along and is completed. Gladys and Main water line replacement, we anticipate awarding that contract in February. Also, McDonald's 395 sewer main replacement, also anticipate awarding that contract in February. And then the Teen Adventure Park, anticipate ribbon cutting in May on that project. And we're still working out some slope issues on some of the concrete, but right now the weather isn't super conducive for the contractor to get that corrected. So we'll be working with them to get those final items completed, and it will open the park as soon as we can, as soon as it's given the certificate of occupancy, but we need to get those things corrected first. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank
Questions on December 2023 financial report? Councilor?
Page 5.
Page 5 of the report.
Okay?
Page 5 of the report.
Yes, yes, sir. Page 5 of the budget report. Just trying to scroll down to it. I just wanted to see what was happening with, we've had a large amount here with transportation, negative 6%. Oh, I'm sorry, can you turn that mic on? Okay. 55, maybe 55%, maybe 29%. And I think the public safety center, that has to do with the monies that hasn't come in yet.
Correct.
So the other ones, can you,
Yeah, so it's a similar on the library project as well. That's where the library budget is currently the 29%. The 55 again, that's just timing on fuel being purchased at the airport. And so we project out with what we thought, with what it's been the last 3 years. And this year particularly, it's very different because of the addition of the Life Flight helicopter up there. And so there's more fuel sales, and so it's not matching the historical patterns, and so it looks out of whack on a projection basis. And then Mr. Morgan on the transportation. Oh, so with our contract for bus services, taxi services, we made an alteration to that contract, and we had to make a catch-up payment. And so that's why that's on a projected basis, not looking normal.
and the parks?
That one's just, it's a couple percent. It just is, maybe a little bit extra work from our parks staff during the holiday decorating and also I know they've done some snow removal for us and things like that. So.
Okay. All right, then the community center and Hawken Rider, is there anything going on there?
Yeah, those should not be red, the percentages, because they're positive. They should be black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Other questions from the council? Any public comment on December 2023 financial report? Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the December 2023 financial report?
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Councilor Linton, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. That we accept the December 2023 financial report. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Smith, the council goal setting update. Man, that was kind of verbalized poorly, wasn't it? Council goal setting update. All right.
So the changes from the last quarter, when I gave you that, are in the red. So there are only a few items that I'm going to highlight. The urban growth boundary expansion, we just talked about that tonight, and so we'll be moving forward with that. So then on the next page, we have been working on an MOU related to the Health, Wellness, and Aquatic Center. And this MOU is just kind of a high-level agreement that other entities might want to partner with us in moving that project forward. So we have a draft out to one stakeholder, and we're working on a couple of other drafts to go to some other stakeholders in that or potential stakeholders in that project. Then the community court program, we've been informed that Community Counseling Solutions has hired a peer mentor, and they're training that person to come and start working in our court to help some of our folks kind of make some changes. Then the red light photo enforcement along 395. The police department has completed a report, and I'm in the process of reviewing that right now, and we'll be ready to bring some more discussion maybe to the council related to that topic in the near future. And then the next one, the council adopted law enforcement staffing fee, and we'll be working on a budget amendment to implement those. And then to the next page, I just will kind of walk through an update on the Carnegie Building and the library project, the Harkematter Center, and the Public Safety Center in our work session. And so that'd be happy to answer. Oh, in the last area, no updates on the final page. Be happy to answer any questions or.
Councilor Burke? Yeah, the law enforcement assessment fee, when does that start?
It'll start March 1st. That's what we had proposed.
Okay. That's another question I have, but
I think your question revolved around the fee changes that we're making. Will they be in this budget cycle, or was that for planning for the spring budget cycle?
There will be some, like the public safety fee will bring into the supplemental budget that we'll bring forward in February. Also, the planning fees will be implemented, and so there'll be some impact on those, but we won't see the full impact until the new budget starting in July, but there will be some this year, some all next.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think Councilor Primer's question had to do with budget, and it was put on hold. Some of the
I'm sorry, yes, I do remember. Specifically as it relates to the council budget.
Yes.
Has that been reinstated, or is that?
Well, that's what we would bring forward with all of the supplemental budget would be to reinstate the council budget and the other fees as revenue, things like that.
And would that be would that be an immediate effect, or would that be like on the next?
Yeah, I mean, you adopt those by resolution, so they come into the immediate effect. Right now, I'm anticipating the second meeting in February, just because of the notice requirements that we have to publish it and so forth.
Thank you for the prompting. I didn't write the question down earlier when I spoke with the mayor on it, so.
All right. Any other questions regarding goals? Status update on those. So this is the process we're going to start over again this week?
That's right. Thursday evening and Friday.
Thursday evening and Friday. So we'll be reflecting back on these 4 goals and looking to amend or add on to those as we have our conversations with the staff and council. Just for the public's awareness, every year the council and administration go through a public goal setting process where we sit down as an organization and talk through current updates, current status. Each of the administrators has an opportunity to give us an update on what's going on so that we're up to speed with all their items they're working on, but also things that we need to continue to work on as a growing and prosperous city, and how we can continue to move that ball forward. And so very valued time. I think council experiences great rapport amongst each other, and it's a great opportunity for us to talk through some issues that we're working on in a longer format. And so that happens this Thursday, 5 to 8, 9, something like that.
At 5:30, and Lily made adjustments to the time changed, but 5:30 is when the meeting will start.
And then on Friday, we'll go from 8:30 to like 3:30. Okay. So a lot of commitment on the council's time, and so I was glad everybody was able to make that time this year. In the past, we've had some members that couldn't attend, so it's nice that we're able to do that. Any other questions or comments on council goal setting update? Any public comment on it? Yeah, Councilor Burke.
Just for the goal setting, like, and I already shared my comments with City Manager Smith, but I know last year when we made the change to have it Thursday, Friday, I think we were going to alternate between Thursday, Friday, and then going back to what we usually did, which was Friday, Saturday. And so unfortunately, I won't be able to make this Friday. I'll be at work, so I'll
Do you there first?
yes, absolutely. But if we can look into flip-flopping again, so next year doing it Friday, Saturday, so we hopefully can have a chance to all participate.
Yeah.
And I've asked Sarah, the facilitator, to have a little bit of discussion about that on the Thursday evening, when all people
Yeah.
be there.
So, yeah, historically, we kind of did it Friday night, Saturday, but that doesn't work out for everybody and their lifestyles. So we went Thursday, Friday this year, so other members could participate. And so we'll try and figure out, we'll continue to work on scheduling so that everybody can participate. I think it's super important that all 9 of us are present if we can be. So, sorry, we'll miss you. Yeah, gotta pay the bills, I understand. This doesn't.
We'll be here.
What's that?
We'll be here in this room.
It's here in this room.
That's correct.
No heat, bring jackets. Trying to conserve budgets here.
It costs money.
Yeah, I'll give you them.
All right, so no action required on this one, right?
No.
Okay. City committee and liaison. Any city committee reports? Nobody?
We had to cancel our Parks and Rec due to low turnout.
Poor weather.
It's a combination.
Just to, yeah, it wasn't the best weather, but that was.
I think enough people said they couldn't.
Right.
Same with Cal.
Okay.
The snow went council.
Yeah, I think you and Tech also had the same thing. We're waiting for the beginning of this month to kind of see where we're at. The Hispanic Advisory Committee had we tabled our meeting because I think we're having more internal discussion about what the community is looking like moving forward and how our membership could, I guess, best, reintroducing the expectations and the duties and seeing what all members can do and kind of reimagining, I guess, what we're wanting to do going forward.
I think that committee's pretty much full.
It is,
Yeah, that's kind of exciting.
It is, and I think that's kind of where we're kind of going back to the drawing board. We have some new members and a lot of great members, honestly. So I'm really happy to see like the diversity in our membership. And so it's going to kind of give us an opportunity to all just have a discussion, see what we want out of the committee, and see what we can do to further support the Latino population here in our community.
Talk too much and shut you off.
Yeah.
So, and I think also our faith-based advisory group is pretty full as well. Yeah, we've got a lot of attention for our committee structure lately, it seems like, and I think they're almost all full, right? Pretty close. We've got a couple more appointments to make yet, but it'll be pretty close to being full, so appreciate the community's engagement. Mayor's report. Hopefully, Mr. Smith, you're going to talk a little bit about maybe the Veteran Housing Award. Everybody's probably familiar with that, but I think that's something that we should definitely be excited about. I did attend the Small Cities meeting with the LOC. It was in Oregon. Great conversations with local small cities. 19 people attended, so great turnout. Jim McCauley, the legislative director for the League of Northern Cities, gave a presentation on what he's expecting for current legislature and kind of gave all the cities an update on that. We will have a regional meeting. Lily, do you remember the date of that? I think it's in LaGrange. So can we get that out for a calendar? And that's where all cities can participate. The small cities meeting is designed for 10,000 and under, I think, Mr. Smith? 5,000?
I think 5,000.
5,000 and under. So very good attendance though for that meeting. That's all I got for now. Councilor? Anything? Yes, Councilor Brown?
I just want to clarify, the Hermiston Distinguished Service Awards Banquet is going to be held on March 20th.
20th.
According to the article that came out on Northeast Oregon.
Thank you.
I've been recruited for sound effects again, so I just.
Right on. That song picked out of it?
That was awesome.
There's a reason you're in the #1 spot now. Just kidding, I didn't even remember that actually. Any other comments from the council? Yes, Councilor Brown. I'm sorry, Councilor McCarthy, you was first.
Just, I want to thank city staff for doing their hardest to plow the city streets. I know there are rumors circulating that we do not have any snow plows, but they are. I did clarify with City Manager Smith before the meeting, and we do have them, and they're in working condition. So be patient if your street still needs some work, and hopefully we don't get any more.
Well, nobody can say the mayor has priority because my street still hasn't been done.
Maybe after I got stuck, finally got back to my house, that's when they showed up.
There are people getting stuck on my street. It's pretty ugly. All right, Councilor Brown.
Just wanted to share this last week, or actually this last Monday, was at the Martin Luther King Jr. event here at City Hall. It was another great event, and honestly, I feel like every year it's getting better and better. We didn't do the march, which was fine by me because it was really cold outside. But I think out of all the years that I've gone, that was also like the best singing that we've had all together as a community. Everybody knew the words, everybody knew like kind of the rhythm, and I thought it was really cool. Had the jazz band play, and I feel like they're getting better and better every year, and so it was really cool. A couple of students kind of shared. We had a guest speaker. He touched on the theme of like, kind of what makes you who you are, and a lot of different themes, right? And just really cool for one student that was in the jazz band that just happened to stand up, and he wanted to share with the audience someone that inspired him to be who he is today and be a member of the band and having so much confidence, which he was a great soloist, and it would happen to be his former teacher, Mr. Mata down at Armin Larg Middle School, his band director, and he named a couple of reasons why he is his hero, a person he looks up to. But it kind of just went back to the theme of Martin Luther King Jr. and how representation matters. But the kid was Latino, and he's like, he was the only Latino teacher, and I see myself in him, and he believed in me, and this is kind of why I'm here. And so it was just a great story, a live story here in Hermiston. We have a kid that's super successful, super great soloist, and just going back to that representation is important. It matters. Really touched my heart, honestly, and I thought it was just another great event that we had here. So just wanted to share that.
Very good event, very well attended. I was disappointed we didn't do the walk, but it was like, what, 2 degrees out? So probably wasn't really safe. So I understood. The young man that stood up just off the cuff and sung too. Somebody didn't show up to sing something, and he just volunteered, I'll do it, and it was amazing.
They were from Tri-Cities, that's why they couldn't make it.
Yeah, couldn't get here.
Aaron Thacker.
Yeah, just amazing. Yeah, the talent of the young people that were there was impressive. So, yeah. No, well done by
Hermiston
Hermiston Cultural Awareness Club. Right. Thank you. Other comments from the council? Okay, no youth advisors tonight. They didn't have to stay till 10 o'clock to do their report like last meeting.
Their final grades are due on Thursday, so.
All right, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, just as far as the Veterans Housing Project, I've asked Roger Condi, who's the director of the Umatilla County Housing Authority, to come to, I think it's our first meeting in February. He said he was available, and he's going to talk about that Veterans Project. They received a $7.5 million grant. They're hoping to get some additional funding, and he's hoping to know about it by then. That was why he chose a little bit later. So that'll be coming. And then just want to remind the council, it's a Fair Appreciation Dinner this weekend. And so that's Saturday, 5 p.m. for the social hour, 6 o'clock for dinner. So all of you were invited. I think Lily sent out the invitations. So.
And Mr. Smith, as far as business manager hiring update, when can we hear?
End of this week.
End of this week?
Yeah. I'm hopeful. That's
Finance.
Finance director.
Finance director. Wrong title. Finance director. We'll be hiring by the end of the week,
Yes.
potentially.
Hopefully we'll have an agreed offer.
Okay, awesome. Anything else?